Hey guys, let's put together a nice relaxing doodle drawing. So this will be one of my long form videos. For this doodling, what you're going to need is a thin Sharpie, a regular size Sharpie, and I'm also going to be using this medium size marker that's somewhere in between these two. A nice set of colored markers is always good. In terms of the kind of theming around this particular doodle I'm going to do, I'm actually going to have this series of flower photos to use as both a reference and kind of like an inspiration. There's a lot of variety of shapes that we can draw from. You can do something similar, but if you want to draw along with me, these are the kind of shapes that we're going to be looking at to inform our doodle. Starting with, look at that dandelion. I think we definitely want to do something with that. So let's get into this. To begin with, I recommend starting with the medium Sharpie. The thinner one we're going to use for finer details. Okay. This is a pretty large sheet of paper I'm using, 12 by 18. You can use what's available to you. What I do recommend though is if you are using some printer paper, lay down a second layer on this on your surface so you don't get marker and Sharpie marks bleeding onto your onto your table surface. Okay. Alrighty, so I'm kind of taking inspiration from that dandelion. Here's the sort of oval, and it's got these, I guess, these individual seeds that pop out of it. Let's go ahead and draw those. There's a bulb here, a stalk there. And it gets dense. One of the nice things to keep in mind that'll help your drawing become more interesting is if you allow elements that you draw just individually, like you see here, you allow them to overlap. Okay, kind of over and behind each other. Even a small amount of overlap helps to create a little bit of space. Okay. Now, for the rest of this dandelion, I'm not going to draw every single stalk of this dandelion. I just wanted a couple that are nice and visible here, so that in the background, like you see me doing here, I'm just going to focus on making it look kind of fuzzy. So this sort of line work that you see me doing right now, what you'll notice is that I'm varying my direction, the length of my strokes, as well as the density of it and how close they are together, almost with every stroke I put down. Okay, it's almost never the same, and you want to try to treat yours the same way. What you don't generally want to avoid when you're drawing this sort of bounding line, I suppose, is using just a simple zigzag line. It gets kind of boring there. Add a few more of these guys. I might have to switch over to my medium marker soon. Like this Sharpie is actually not very healthy. It's kind of on the verge of dying. I don't need it for too long. Let's see how far it goes. Just want to add some texture to this inside. A few more stalks, just the stalk portions coming out. And we've got the stem of the dandelion coming in. And I do like seeing a couple of these sort of flying off in the wind. I could draw these in different sizes. Okay, so that's like the first major element. I think I want to, let's see, what other sort of flower? Maybe we'll take a break from the flower and draw some leaves. One of my favorite ways to draw leaves is to start with an S curve. It's like a reverse S curve actually. And close it up with a C curve. Okay. You could try that out yourself. Little S curve, C curve. Or you could put two S curves together kind of like that. Some of the leaves can be a little larger. It's kind of turning into a bulb, and I'm kind of liking it. So there's no real, like, you gotta do this kind of rule when it comes to doodling. You can take inspiration from some existing images, like I am. Sometimes it's not exactly all that easy to think of just something from nothing, right? Like this plant I just made up, right? But it came from a couple different leaves that are just sort of coming together like that. And I might draw it as part of a larger vine behind this dandelion like that. And then here, it's nice to add in some repeating elements. These little dots, these circles that become dots that get smaller and smaller until it becomes a texture. Okay. Let's see, I think I like this overall direction. I'm wondering what else I could do with that. Maybe have line going like this. Yeah, we can have it kind of point out. And out from here, we can draw in some other flowers. So that right there is a petal that you can put together with two sort of modified C curves with a kind of bend at the body right there. Some of the petals can overlap inside. Some can be a little smaller like that. You can put in some little dots in the center. Let's do a few of those. I think I want to draw one that's sort of budding. A slightly larger one coming off the tip over here. There you go. I like this kind of swoop in motion. Sort of thinking right now, do I want something that's maybe one more of those guys? Kind of doing this motion? Maybe. I'll draw another thicker vine in the background. Excuse the Sharpie noise. Especially if some of you are sensitive to that kind of squeegee sound. So that gets nice and thick over here. I think I like these flower shapes. I want to add a few more here and there, just a little smaller maybe. Maybe just that one more. Okay. I've also got some pretty beautiful stalks over here. I think I want to add some more vertical stalks coming up over here. See a flower that has a large bulb at its base, with some petals that are a little stringy like this. And some nice thin stalks coming all the way down. Some of the bulbs are just budding like that, and there's little tiny little leaves on the sides of the stalks in some instances. can have some of the stalks or some of the flowers start a little lower down. For some variation. Some of these bulbs a little higher up. And crossing and overlapping each other like you see here. You might be wondering to yourself why I'm not talking as much in this particular video. To be honest with you, there's not a whole lot to break down about the process, and one of the nicest things about drawing in this way is that it's really easy to get into a state of flow where you're just enjoying the process, not even really thinking about what the what you want your end product to look like or anything like that. You're just kind of making decisions pretty much just as you draw it. Okay. Okay. I do appreciate this overall composition that's coming out. I might finish this out, maybe add a few more stalks waving and coming in this direction. A couple small ones over here. Okay. Now we can get into some of the smaller details. To do that, you can use this smaller, this thinner Sharpie over here. And you want to work with the line work that's already present. Okay. The rest of the doodle, you're going to be adding elements that are within the negative spaces inside of these lines, and also perhaps maybe even between some of the vines and leaves that you got over here. Okay. To begin with, you can add some texture to the existing elements like you see over here. I'm going to add a little bit of texture to this lower bulb on the dandelion, as well as on the stem right there. The leaves themselves, you could give them a stem. It's a double line. And then an easy way to fill in what could read as veins is to use some S curves and C curves like you see me doing here. That sort of run into each other and get smaller and smaller. Again, there's no set rule that I'm following here. You just looking to add some texture, add some interest, a little bit of detail. Maybe on the other side over here, I just intentionally keep it kind of sparse. Yeah, I think I like that language. A little more dense on the left side of the stem. And more sparse when it gets to this right portion. Some areas you can just fill in with some curved hatching like you see there. One last one of these large leaves to get through. let me see. How else can we approach this? These swirling vines, I think I want to keep them, for now, mostly blank. But the area between them, I think I want to do a little something to bridge these two areas. Add a little bit of interest there. Let's see. You might find yourself doing something similar, just sort of thinking about the next step. And what would serve the drawing best. Yeah, I think I'm going to go back to the regular size Sharpie. Start drawing in some simple shapes. I kind of alternate between the vines. Get smaller and smaller as they get closer and closer together. Kind of starts to look like polka dots. It's pretty cute, which I'm not sure if that's what I'm going for, but it's all good. I'm going to double up these lines, see what that looks like. I think I'm a little happier with that. Let's see. What else can I do here? I think I want to add in some circular elements. Kind of orbiting each of these half rings. I suppose they'd be closer to dots by this point. I'm going to go back to my thin Sharpie and use these intersection points as kind of opportunities to add some wiggly lines. Sort of striping across the vine, giving it a little bit more dimension. So it's these irregular stripes that look like they're, kind of going over a cylindrical object. Let's do the same over here. Doesn't have to be as detailed because it's a thinner vine. Small things like this, though, it does help to add just a little bit of pop to these things. Give it a little bit of form. Another thing you can do is you can go over certain parts of certain portions of the drawing to sort of chunk elements together into a group. So I'm going to take my Sharpie, go double up on the outline of this grouping of leaves. Should help it to stand out a little bit more. From that set of vines behind it. All right, that Sharpie is pretty much dead. So, going back to the thinner Sharpie now. Starting from the middle of these flowers, I'm going to add in these small little strokes to give each petal a little bit of oomph coming out from the middle. what else can we do here? Kind of thinking. Let's add a little bit of texture, a small amount of line work to the dandelion to accentuate the sort of fuzziness. Just a small amount of this detail goes a long way. Don't have to cover the whole thing. See, I think I want to add maybe one more line of leaves coming in this way, right? Getting smaller as it gets over here. So going back to the larger Sharpie, hopefully it survives. Some simpler leaf shapes. That get slightly smaller and smaller as it goes up the vine. Slowly diminishes in size. Kind of want to fill up this space somehow. And I believe I'll do that by adding just one more of these dandelions in the background over here. But I'm not going to do the individual kind of seeds. I'm just going to draw the large fluffy head. And a few details within. There we go. Go back to the thin Sharpie. Add some of that fluffiness. Just a little bit, maybe 2 rings of it. Over here. Add some texturing to the stem right there, so it reads like it's the same kind of plant. And in the back over here, I think I want to add in a few thinner stems to show that there's a whole mass of these kind of stocky seeds coming out from the center. That should also help to bring a little bit more emphasis onto the dandelion here. Alrighty. think that's pretty much there. Maybe I'll add a few more elements here and there as a in the future. But for now, I do think that this is pretty ready for coloring. Okay. Let's bring out the greens and the yellows first. I'm going to start with this last sort of string of leaves that I started with. First I'll lay down just a bit of yellow along the right edges. Go in there with this lime green. Cover the rest of it. And then finally, just around the leftmost edge with this darker green. Layering colors like this, even though it's quite quick, it helps to add a little bit of dimension to the element you're coloring. Okay, it doesn't take too long either. I think I want to do much the same over here. Add in a small amount of yellow. Along the top side edges of these leaves. Go back in there with this lime green. Cover most of it. Oh, this is actually the darker green I'm using. I grabbed the wrong color. That's all right. We'll figure it out. What can I use now? Please excuse my dog. I'm going to go back in there with this blue right here to accentuate some of the stems. And add a bit of a shadow towards the bottom edges over here. Give the leaves a little bit of pop. Looking kind of funny, so let's see what I could do. I'll go in there with the lime green, see how that affects this blend. Maybe I could Yeah, there you go. Kind of blending out the tips. Give it a bit more of a gradient. I think I want to do the same to these kind of corner conditions over here. It's a little more like it. I could go ahead and do the same right at the base of these leaves. Sort of flick that out, give it a bit of darkness right at the base where it meets up with the vines. Just a small amount. Now let's see. I think I want to go with some of these warmer colors. Let's grab the pink, magenta, some purple. Starting with the lightest color here, the pink. Oh, that's not very light. That is pretty hot pink. Ah, gotta commit. That's all right. Gotta commit. I'm just gonna go over the left edge of this vine over here. Skipping over these little wavy kind of stripes we put down before. Now, I'm gonna grab this peachy color, run it down the middle. Let's do it that way. And then I'm going to come back in with the yellow to fill out the rest of it. I'm just skipping over those stripes. Maybe I'll keep them white. Keep it consistent on the other side. Coming in with the hot pink. That is a pretty tropical looking plant so far. Got some pretty starburst colors in there. I think I can add a second line in there, just a little thinner. But I'm gonna add a bit of spacing between that initial pink I put down and this line that I'm drawing in, so that that absence of color reads as a highlight. Okay, that's something you could try out as well. It's a quick thing, but it gives it some nice dimension. All right, let's go in there with the peach. This will be most of the color. Okay, and lastly the yellow. We got the outside of the vines done. What the heck are we going to do in the inside? Let's see. I'm kind of feeling going back to the greens here. I'm starting with the right one. Nope. So I'm going to start with my lighter lime green. Feeling pretty happy with the decision so far. Going in with my darker green. Giving each of these a bit of a little bit of a depth, sense of depth here. I might come back to this area. Well, let's leave it for now. For these flowers over here, let me see, I'm going to just flick in small amounts of this purplish color around the tip and a little bit around the edges of each of the petals. I'm keeping most of the blossom white. Looking pretty nice. Helps to give it a bit of more contrast too. Let's get back in there with the pink. Oh, not the right color. Let's see, do I have anything lighter than that? I'm going to leave that be. This pink has been a little bit problematic. I expected it to be a lot lighter. No problem. How about this? Let's see. This kind of looks like a crimson. Yeah, okay, that's a little better. And the color in these little circles in the middle of these flowers. Draw some attention to the center. And for the bulbs over here, gonna hit that with some green. As well as the stems. Blend that out a bit. This little tongue-like thing, maybe I'll treat that with a bit of the same purple. Yeah, that looks all right. Let's come back around over here to the dandelion. I'm not going to color most of it in. I do want to get some brownish tones going on for the stem, so I'm going to start with this peachy tone over most of it. Or it's actually, I should call it orange. Cover it with the orange, and let's see, I'm going to hit it with this reddish color just on the left side, and then also go back in there with a bit of this green, and I'm hoping that combines with those warm colors to make it a bit brownish, and looks like my plan worked. I don't want a whole lot of color in the dandelion itself. Maybe I'll go around some of the edges, add in a small amount of yellow. Just little bits here and there. Like there's a tiny bit of sunshine being caught. And I might place them more or less in the same areas where I placed down the light amount of hatching I did with the thin Sharpie. And while we're at it, let's go over here. I'm going to color in that same stem. Using the same sort of combination. Started with the orange, added in a small amount of this. Oh no, that's not the right one. Small amount of this red on that side. And then I went back in with a little bit of green to brown that up. Okay. Let's see. Some of this pink for these bulbs. Make it stand out against the white dandelion over here. I would like a little something in the center here. I think I'll just go back to my thin Sharpie. Oh, this is almost dead too. Come on, buddy. Okay. I'll add in some rough stippling. Just along the outer edges in a crescent shape to make it look like we got some shadow in there. For these guys over here, what color do I want these? I think I want some blue blossoms. We'll keep things colorful for this drawing. Oh, that is pretty blue. Okay, I'm just kind of going along one side of these petals, leaving the rest white to make it seem like there's some light hitting it. For the rest of it, I think we'll keep it green. Starting with the lighter green, bringing it down. And now let's hit it with the darker green to give it a bit more depth. Just to, I think, the left side of these stalks. kind of shaping up. I think I do need to go back into this area over here. And I'm sort of thinking about what I could possibly add there. I kind of have this mass of green over here with this body of leaves, and I think I want to continue with that similar color because it just seems to have a lot of weight right there, and I think I want to have it taper out with that similar shade of green up and over. Okay. In order to do that, let me see. I think I want to color in all of these internal areas besides these semicircles to begin with. Okay, so let's get in there with a lighter lime green. There you go. That I'm already feeling happier about that. Do I want to fill these in? Yeah, I do. Yellow. Can make these look a little closer to hemispherical by leaving a small amount of white on these sides over here. I'm going to go back in there with the lime green. This will look kind of rough to begin with. I'm going to go back in there with the yellow to blend this out, so it should look a little better. Back in there with the yellow. Oh, nope. Not quite. Not quite. So I'm going to come back in there with the lime green, being a little more methodical, adding some hatching like that to better transition this lime green into the yellow. Small lines like that. Oh, there we go. It's not so rough there. Okay. I do want to color in the bulbs of these dandelion seeds. I'd like to create a similar sort of brown over here, just on the inside. So starting with the orange, and then, how did I do this again? Yeah, so a little bit of red. And then hit it with the lime green to make it neutral, closer to brown. Let those all mix up. Anything else? Maybe to these guys, not sure. Yeah, small amount of yellow. Just to these. It's still quite heavy on this side because of this grouping of leaves. This is a more delicate operation. I'm going to add more of these leaves that we started in a row right here, kind of going back. But I'm going to do it behind all of these stems. Okay. One more. Let's color those in. Start with the lime green. Yeah, I'm happy about that. Go in there with the darker green, just on the left edges, and I think I want to make these leaves darker in particular, especially because we got the other stalks in front of them. So I'm going to be more generous with this darker green than in the other parts. All right, guys. So there you have it. We started with some references for inspiration for some floral kind of work over here. Doodled it out. Used a couple different thicknesses of Sharpie. Just colored it and didn't really have a set plan, and that is an important part of the creative process to be able to do. Okay. Hopefully you had fun with that. Thanks, guys. I'll see you in class.